Tonight, he's vain, he's mean, and he put me on television. The man behind American Idol, X Factor, and America's Got Talent, Simon.Cowell.
This actually was my worst nightmare in the world.
Tonight, an absolutely riveting hour with the multi-millionaire impresario. You're a monkey.
Okay, I'm a monkey, fine.
An interview like you've never seen before with him. Do you think you're a bit of a sex god? Simon.Cowell, for the hour. This is Piers Morgan Tonight. You know Simon.Cowell from American Idol, America's Got...
That wasn't great. Bit high.
Can you not?
Start again.
You're not in your lair now, you're in mine.
Lower voice. One more time. Okay, 3, 2, 1.
I'll continue, actually. Before I was so rudely interrupted, I was just going to continue, because actually I did that perfectly. He's obviously, I should just forget this, he's not one of the most astute judges in America. He's a serial pain in the backside whose only great decision was to hire me on America's Got Talent, and it gives me absolutely no pleasure to have Simon.Cowell here, apart from the fact that I know it's going to cause you enormous displeasure.
Likewise.
To be in my studio.
I mean, total, utter torture. As we were just waiting, I'm looking around thinking, this actually was my worst nightmare in the world, that I'm sitting on your show, and then you say things like, as a favour, we'll help you throughout the year. I mean, it's just...
Well, you have created the monster. I mean, without you, I wouldn't really be sitting here.
What was the text message I sent to you when we had the ratings? I think it was the year 1 of America's Got Talent.
No, the key thing for me, I remember, I'll never forget this, was when America's Got Talent, you flew me out here, and no one had ever heard of me, and you took this big pump, which I'm genuinely grateful for. No, they have now, thanks to the large billboards I made sure they put outside your house. And I remember you sent me a text message, and it was just after the show went number 1 on NBC, and you sent this message just said, I feel like Dr. Frankenstein.
True. The monster.
Yeah.
No, but I'm seriously thrilled for you, Piers.
Of course you are.
No, I really am.
Which aspect of me landing...
Actually, the interview's about me. Back to me, come on.
X Factor.
Yes.
Why should we be so excited about this in America? I know why Britain got very excited, but what's the big selling point to you? What makes this different to Idol?
It's difficult to say till you actually make the show. I mean, genuinely, when you make a reality show, for me, as a producer, there's a point where you've got to stand back. And therefore, I shouldn't know what it's going to be like. The audience shouldn't know. You just film it and you hope it's going to be as crazy as possible.
What are the key, if you're an American viewer, what are the key differences between this and Idol? Why is this a different show?
You can be 12. You can be older, no age limit. We've had people 100 years old auditioning on this show, and we audition groups. And then at the end, the judges get to mentor.
But the big change you made in Britain after a few years was to bring in an audience for the audition process, which Idol doesn't have. Is that going to be a key weapon, do you think, in your ratings assault on X Factor America?
Well, you're quite right. It makes it different. I mean, it wasn't that we did it just to make it different from Idol. I was filming the show in Scotland, I think it was 2 years ago, and it was the same process. Desk, 3 judges, horrible room. This contestant came in, and this is literally within 1 hour, and I stopped the show. I said, I actually can't do this anymore. It's too predictable, it's too sterile. So we all flew back to London. The following day, the producers came in, and I said, I want to shoot this in arenas.
I'm going to play you a little clip from X Factor.
Finish the story.
No, I'm going to come to the end of that story in a moment.
Thanks, Piers.
Because I want to show you what people are talking about.
I'm going to say yes. Best first audition I have ever heard.
Simon, you're better than Jesus!
Can we take that last bit out? It's embarrassing. Well, you see what it's like. I mean, look, it's supposed to feel... The idea was that we would recreate what their first concert would look like. So for people who've never auditioned in their lives, they walk out, instead of walking into like a hotel room with the 3 of us, you walk out and you've got 3,000 or 4,000 screaming kids there. And it was supposed to make it a bit more exciting, and to create that atmosphere. For some people, I mean, it was just a disaster. And then one of the guys you saw in that clip, Daniel Johnson, it shows you what can happen when an audience get behind you, and he turned into a performer. It was sensational.
It was an extraordinary moment, and I don't think you would have got that in a room. So I think the addition of the audience, and also for you, is in the end, you're the evil Svengali producer as well. And I don't mean for the show, I mean as a music producer.
Yeah.
You get a chance to see what these guys are like when they get a big audience. You can see who are the real performers, right?
Well, look, where they start is where you want them to end up. You want them to be able to do concerts and perform in front of millions of people. And that's what you look for. You look for somebody who can really use the crowd well. And there were times, many, many times, when we said no, where you could feel the audience about to turn on you, and they've changed our minds. It's a completely different atmosphere, but I liked it.
I've known you a long time. I was with you a lot through the process of you deciding whether or not to leave Idol, whether to do X Factor. I know you agonised over that. Talk me through your mindset through that period, because I know you weren't sure what to do with your career. You were offered this, I'm not sure if you even want to say, but I know it was a stupendous sum of money to stay on Idol. A lot of people in your position would have taken the money. Why didn't you? Why did you take this huge gamble?
Because I made, you know, a lot of money. It's no secret over the 9 years I was on the show. I mean, I was really well looked after. But my love always was producing. You know, I love producing shows. And so when you're on a show where other people are making decisions, you don't necessarily agree with it. After a while, you start to feel like a passenger. Your energy comes down, the show's energy comes down, and to be fair, I thought they needed to be rid of me, to be honest with you, because I was thinking about doing the show for 2 years.
Did you get bored being what was a highly paid performing monkey in the end?
Yeah. Well, I didn't quite think of it that way.
No, but you know what I mean? You had no control. So you were like a monkey in a zoo. You were the best monkey.
By the way, I don't think we can use that word.
Oh, no, we can.
Can we?
Yeah, I'm sorry, you don't have any editorial control.
Okay, I'm trying to look after you.
This is awkward now, because that's actually definitely a bearing.
Is it?
You're a monkey.
Okay, I'm a monkey, fine.
Let me know what I mean. Because I know from Britain's Got Talent and X Factor, having worked with you on Britain's Got Talent, you have complete control of that show. America's Got Talent, you're all over it like a rash. You're ringing at 4 a.m, you're ringing it. You have complete control. On Idol, you didn't have that control.
That was the problem. Look, I've always believed that these shows become an extension of your personality. So there were many, many times when I was on Idol where I thought, I just don't want to make this show. There's nothing wrong with the show. It's just that I want to make something different. And after a while, I just got so frustrated. And I had a fantastic relationship I still have with Fox. My belief, funny enough, was that once I left, the whole show would reinvent itself. They'd have a new energy. They would become more competitive because we're bringing our show on. So for Fox, it was like win-win.
You've taken a huge punt here on you. I mean, a lot of this, I would say, centres around the Cowell brand. You've taken it out of this huge show and you're putting it all on X Factor. It is a gamble, isn't it?
It has to be a gamble.
Even for a super confident guy like you, has any part of you contemplated the unthinkable?
Always. Every show I ever make, by the way, you know, we've worked with each other long enough, and I've sat there with you on Britain's Got Talent, where I just feel like jumping off a bridge because I think the whole show's a disaster, it's not going to work, and it's depressing, and then somebody else walks in an hour later, and it's different. But if you don't have that fear that it's going to go wrong, you're going to get complacent, you're going to lose your edge, your sharpness. So I like the team around me to feel like me, which is, it could go horribly wrong.
A lot of people ask me, what's he like to work with? You know, and I say, it's funny because a lot of the time you can be very difficult. You're quite a tough taskmaster. You are permanently, I would say, refusing to let anybody rest on their laurels on the show. You keep everyone on their toes. And, you know, you're like all mavericks, I guess, in the sense you change your mind a lot and then you suddenly go with something. And, you know, you are, I hate to use the word genius, if I'm not going to. I'll use another word. I've used it. It's already out there.
No, it's logged.
No, but when it comes to the genius, people say, what's his real talent? I say, well, the genius of Simon.Cowell is your ability to guess what the public is going to like. Would you accept that?
Well, thank you. No, I think what it is that I know what I like. And I genuinely make those decisions. Every show I've ever, produced, essentially, it's the show I want to watch myself. And, that goes back to the Idol point, it was a great show and it was doing really, really well. but I wanted to make a slightly different... I would want to watch myself a slightly different type of show. And that's because I was, leaving Idol, going back to shoot X Factor. I was also doing Britain's Got Talent. It was too much, Do you
think I read an interview with you once where you said that your ability to guess the public mood on something is driven by the fact you live a very average kind of life in terms of taste. Whether it's music, books, television, food, you're kind of an average kind of guy, despite all the money and power and fame.
Yeah, look, I know when something's well made, I know when something's interesting, and I get bored really, really quickly. So when I make these shows, I'm trying to make something which nobody's ever seen before, hopefully, that it's unpredictable. And I can see in my head what I want X Factor to look like. But like I said, you can't describe it until you actually see it. But it will be different.
Going to take a short break. When we come back, I want to get your real feelings on American Idol and its judges.
Da, da, da. Everyone asks who's going to replace me, who's going to be the next judge. The truth is, you guys are the judge of this show, and you've done an incredible job over the years.
That, of course, was the end of an era. Simon Cowell's last American Idol ever. Simon's back with me now. Was it like for you that moment, honestly? When you realised that was it, you were walking away from the show that had made you a global superstar?
I got really emotional. I mean, genuinely, I didn't think I would. The fact that the guys had organised it for me, and the audience, and that's really what you walk away from, is actually great memories. And because people ask me now what it's like, when you watch the show, I still feel like I'm a part of the show. I was there when the show was sold, years ago in the UK, and you remember the time Kelly Clarkson emerged into a star, or Carrie Underwood walked in the audition room. I mean, you were part of what made it successful. So I still like watching it occasionally.
Any tears that night?
I kind of welled up a bit, yeah.
It looked to me like, knowing as I do, I thought, you might go here.
Yeah, it was really, really weird. And all those memories, it's like I said to you earlier on, you pinch yourself and you go, God, I can remember coming to LA 20, 30 years ago, practically on one of those, star bus things, totally in awe of being in Hollywood. And then you remind yourself, now you're making shows here. I mean, it's a buzz.
What do you really think of the new Idol lineup? Because you're an incredibly competitive man. I mean, you and I have had bets on ants going up a window pane, so...
And I won.
Yeah, I'm not... I read something recently, I don't watch it. I don't believe that. I believe you must watch it.
I started watching it when I came over here, because it's completely different when you watch it in the UK, and you watch it here, and you're part of the right time zone and things.
So go on, good, bad, ugly. Be Simon the critic. Be Simon
I
the
personally think it is a better show than last year. I genuinely do. I think what they've got is that it feels to me that they've got their energy back, that they're confident, they're competitive. And I said to everybody on my show, I said, if you think that Idol's going to be the same as last year, think again. They're going to be working 10 times as hard as I would. I think it's a good show.
Well, I mean, what they've definitely got, they have a chemistry with the new judges together. That didn't seem to be evident last season. The Ellen thing just didn't seem to work.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, it's interesting you say that, because, I always think of Idol really as me, Paula and Randy, and I think when other people were brought in and Paula wasn't there, it was, to me, like being on a different show. And because it was my last show and I'd announced I was leaving, weird atmosphere on those last few weeks.
Did you think it was a mistake to get rid of Paula?
Certainly, yeah. I mean, they didn't get rid of her. I mean, they just couldn't agree a deal with her. But it was never the same show. I mean, me, Randy and Paula had this unbelievable chemistry. And that's what I always think of, as Idol.
What do you think of Steven Tyler and J-Lo?
Good. Yeah, I like Steven. I mean, I think where they've been clever is, unlike me when I put you on America's Got Talent, another
great moment, if you like. Well, I remember what you said to me. Piers, I need somebody who's evil, arrogant, obnoxious, and your name immediately sprang to mind.
No, I mentioned the word and didn't have many choices. No, I think, you know, Stephen's got his own personality, Jennifer's a star, Randy suddenly sort of turned it into a bit more like me, and I think he always wanted to do that.
Does that make you laugh?
Hilarious, yeah. I never tried to make my show mean. It was supposed to be funnier rather than mean.
You just say some of the meanest things ever seen on American television.
Not coming from you, not intentionally, but you know what we're like. We have a different sense of humour.
Yeah.
You know, we look at things in a different way. I like things to be a bit more extreme, a bit more crazy, and I always felt with the Idol producers, they want it to be a bit more homely and safe. So I think for them now, they're very, very happy because they can make the show they want to make now, and then I can go and make the show I want to make.
Will you be a different character on X Factor to the one we saw on Idol?
Like what?
I can't imagine it.
Like what?
Because I always say to people, trust me, this is what he's really like. It's not an act.
No, but that's what I was going to say there. That I think that, you know, you can't go on one of these shows and put on an act. I mean, if somebody horrific is singing in front of you, I can't sit there and go, take a few more lessons and come back next year, everything's going to be great. I'm like, put this person out of their misery. Or it makes me laugh. But I do like I like things to be really, really extreme. And I like it to be slightly chaotic, and I like it to be controversial.
I'm going to take another break now. When we come back, I want to ask you, what's your primary motivation? Is it fame, power, or money?
Well, I can tell you now, it's money. Don't forget about the break.
It's a break anyway. So a cup of tea.
I'll think about that.
Russell Brand and Tyra Banks on Piers Morgan. CNN tomorrow night, 9 Eastern.
This was like something out of Star Wars.
I wanna rock with you.
That was hideous. That was her worst audition. You're ruining this for yourself. No confidence or self-belief whatsoever. It's like an episode of Star Trek.
Watch out, America. That's just a bit of what you can expect from Simon.Cowell on the X Factor, which is coming this way in the fall. And Simon's my special guest tonight.
Should we go back to the fame, power, money
yes,
question?
let me ask you that.
Okay, I think it has to be powerful without money, because that would work. I've got all the power in the world, but I'm broke. So.
I think the more interesting question for you is not the power thing. It's more actually fame versus money. Because I think you love the fame as well. When I watch you walking out in front of 4,000 screaming people, mainly women throwing knickers at you and stuff, that's when I see you at your most energised and
yeah, but you wouldn't do it
self-pleasuring.
for nothing, would you?
No, I agree. But if I could give you one, if you could be famous, rich, powerful or successful, which would you be? You can't be more than one.
Rich.
Really?
Yeah, for sure.
Over being famous?
Yes.
13 years ago, you were completely bust, gone. No money. You had £5, $7 left in your hand. You used it for a taxi back to your parents, and your career in the record business had just come to a sudden shuddering halt. And here you are 13 years later, you're worth hundreds of millions of dollars. Life's taken a huge turn upwards. But I get the sense with you that what happened to you 13 years ago still defines you now.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't the best of times, but and then again, when I look back on it, it wasn't the worst of times, you know, because I think particularly here in Hollywood, where most people get it wrong is they're afraid of losing what they've got. They're just terrified of losing their fame, as you said, power, money. But actually, once you've lost it, you can always get it back again. I mean, it's not the end of the world. I mean, being ill is worse. So, because I've actually faced what are most people's worst fears and recovered from it, it's not as bad as you think. You know, I didn't lose my confidence. My friends were still my friends. I lived with my parents. And I just saw it as a challenge that I've got to get myself back on my feet again.
What advice do your parents give you then?
They were really, you know, honest to God, they were just cool about it. You know, they were parents. They just, you know, wanted to look after me, live with them for a while. My dad lent me some money to pay the bank. Then eventually I managed to pay my dad back. You know, it was what any parent would do. But like I said, it wasn't the worst time of my life. And actually, when I look back on it now, I still smile because, you know, I bought this beat-up old British sports car, worked 18 hours a day, and I was so determined, Piers, just to get it right this time. because I knew I'd got it wrong. So now I find it much easier to deal with things.
If that wasn't the worst time in your life, what was?
Well, when my dad died was the worst time in my life. As you know, you and I discussed that. I mean, it was just that, you know, like getting ill, losing a parent or losing, somebody close to you. That's the worst thing that could ever happen in your life. You know, all the things that I worry about now, just trivial. I mean, even the whole kind of Idol X Factor thing, I laugh about it because it's such a high-class problem. My show is better than your show. It's like, but we both got a show. I mean, what's
it's a bit like
problem?
Colin Firth and Hugh Grant and the Fountain in Bridget Jones.
Exactly.
Fighting,
Exactly. Over what? I mean, the fact that we're here, we can do this, it's fantastic.
I've talked to you about this before, but you've raised it there. It's an incredibly poignant day in your life, which you say was the saddest day, with the day that you had this huge #1 hit. And then you rang your parents to tell them. You'd always ring your dad and your mum or whatever, and you discovered that your father had died that day. So you had this extraordinary bittersweet day, a great triumph in the morning and terrible tragedy afterwards. What was that day like for you when you look back on it?
I can't lie, worst day of my life. Horrible, horrible time. Then over the years since, I'm thankful for all the support and guidance he gave me. And like I said, it gives you a sense of perspective.
What was the best advice he gave you?
Best advice. He actually said something to me, this was a long, long time ago, where he said to me, because he was successful, my dad, when he ran this company, and he said, everybody around you has an invisible sign on their head, which says, make me feel important. And what I understood from that is that you've got to recognise that actually everyone around you wants to be recognised, wants to be appreciated, and you can get, particularly when I do what I do now, you can get very 1 degree where you just forget everyone around you, everyone who's worked hard. And I try and remember that when I make a show, is that everyone's played a part in it. That's why I don't put my name, for instance, on the shows. I don't like this created by nonsense, because the show is created, truthfully, by 500 people every week.
Your mum is an extraordinary character, who I've known for quite a few years now, and I love her dearly. She is probably the only woman I know who actually has any kind of control over you, isn't she? We
fight. I mean, she was round the other day, and I said something to her. It was a joke, and she stood up, and she said, I'm not going to say what I was about to say. I said, Mum, it was a joke. So then she sits down. Then the two of us sulk for 30 minutes. And eventually one of us has to say sorry, but you don't want to be the one that says sorry.
What was it over?
Honestly, I can't remember, Piers, but I'm now 12 years old going, I'm not going to say sorry. She's going to say sorry to me, and she's thinking the same thing. It is, the effect she has on me is absolutely hysterical.
I mean, you're quite a mummy's boy, aren't you?
Well, not exactly, no. But
I think you are. When you're in England, you have Sunday lunch with her almost every Sunday, don't you?
Well, she comes up to me, and I drove down to her recently. I called her out because I really wanted my mum to cook me lunch. And I said, I'm going to come down tomorrow for lunch. She said, great, we'll book a hotel. No, I want your lunch. So eventually she did cook for me, but I like those days.
I mean, she's a tough cookie. She's used to the world of show business stuff. What does she, when she's been critical of you, what does she say to you?
Do you know what? I think it's just when you know somebody, Piers, I mean, look, like your parents, I mean, whatever you do, it's great, right? But there's a degrees of enthusiasm. Like you phone up, what do you think of the show? Yes, it was quite good, which means it was diabolical. Or the other way around, she's phoning you, or her phone's engaged because she's on the phone to all of her friends. That's when you know you've had a good show.
Did you say something despicable to her when you were a kid, didn't you? Didn't she come down the stairs dressed to the nines and you just said something awful from memory?
She looks like a dog or something.
Poodle or something.
Well, she had this awful coat and matching hat or something.
Even at the age of sort of 4 or 5, you were
you would have said,
well,
okay, the difference is most people would have thought it, I said it, okay? And that's funny enough, that's what I always think on this show, is what people say to me is they go, God, you're saying exactly what I think. And I go, well, that doesn't make it any better. I just say it.
When we come back, I'm going to ask you if there's anything you've regretted saying on television, properly regretted.
I can tell you now, you've got the job. I'm being serious.
rule breaker,
A line is crossed when some soap is dropped.
madman,
He chopped her head off because he was bored of her. What a move!
bad boy,
Felt things retract and recoil.
the unpredictable Russell Brand, then Tyra Banks, a supermodel who's always on top.
Am I intimidating, Piers?
Piers Morgan, CNN tomorrow night, 9 Eastern.
Yeah, that would be fun. Come on, take calls.
Simon.Cowell is back with me now. Simon, what do you make of the modern star? When you look at what's happening with Lindsay Lohan, with Charlie Sheen, with Christina Aguilera, there's a lot of stars going off the rails in various ways. Has it always been like that, or is there a kind of
Is it going to happen to us?
I hope not. May already be happening to us. We just haven't got caught.
Exactly.
But what do you make of it? Is it the intense attention now from the internet, from TMZ, has the game changed for celebrities?
I was talking to a friend of mine last year where we had this conversation where everything got a bit bleak last year, and there's still a bit of a carryover. Where I asked him, do you know anybody who's successful and happy? And we actually, over the age of 50 or 60, we couldn't think of anyone. I don't know what it is. There's a mood in the air right now. And hopefully that's going to change soon, where everybody starts to take themselves a bit too seriously is part of it.
Didn't you get offered some huge six-figure sum by a guy in a restaurant in LA once?
Yes, he offered me, I think it was 150 grand, to criticise him bonking his wife. Now, the crazy part of the story is I said no.
Why wouldn't you do that?
I don't know.
Easy money,
look,
isn't it?
If you're watching, I'll even do it for 50,000 less. OK? We'll do a deal.
And was it going to be that night? I mean, you literally all just go from the restaurant back to the boudoir and...
What?
The boudoir.
The bedroom.
Yeah, and you'd be positioned on your throne, presumably, and you'd be...
Not my throne, darling, a chair.
With your red buzzer, or...?
Maybe just the fact I didn't know them that well. I think the fact that he really was taking it quite seriously, and I knew I would laugh. I just thought, no, this is too crazy, but I genuinely regret it now.
And the other offer that I thought you must regret by now was the huge commercial offer you had to do a major tie-up with a company.
It's a brilliant story. My agent, who you know, Alan Berg, is a really, really nice guy, and he called me up and he went, I've got some great news for you, Simon. What's that? You've been offered $1 million for a commercial. How many days' work? A day? And I went, OK. He said, but there's some bad news. What's the bad news? It's Viagra. And I was trying to work out whether it was a compliment or an insult.
Why have they targeted you? I mean, have they heard anything on the grapevine?
Well, no, I'm putting a positive spin on it. I kind of thought...
Can there be one? I mean...
Yes. I am the guy every guy wants to be. So if you take Viagra, it's going to be as big as mine, or something like that. But I said no.
Do you think you're a bit of a sex god?
Sex god boudoir. What is happening to you?
Take the boy out of the tabloids, Simon.
A sex god.
I just wondered, do you look in the mirror sometimes and think, whoa,
Yes.
looking good today?
Yeah. Did you do that today?
I always do that.
No, seriously. No, you know fully well, Piers, that the best form of Viagra is be on TV, right? Suddenly you become more attractive, in fact, much more attractive, and girls will like you more.
Do you care that it's shallow?
I like it. I do, I like it. It kind of, makes it easier.
You've never got married, but now we are on the verge of the romantic apocalypse, aren't we? You are now heading to the altar.
Where are you getting your language from
I'm on
today?
CNN now. I use long words.
You and I knew each other as friends. Boudoir, sex gods.
Are you going to the royal wedding?
I haven't been invited.
No, nor have I.
No. Why is that?
I have no idea. You think the amount of tourism we bring?
I thought that as well. And we'd be fun guests.
What do you think of William and Kate?
I don't know William, but I've met Harry. And I've got to tell you, just top guy. Really, really funny, like a normal bloke. Great sense of humour. I really, really was impressed with him.
I've met William a few times, and he's a real strong character. You think what they've been through, those boys. I mean, you and I remember Diana's funeral and watching these terrible scenes. And I think one of the reasons this royal wedding is getting so much attention and excitement is it's the first joyous royal occasion since Diana died.
That's a good point.
And it's her boy.
Yeah.
Because I can't believe in America they're going crazy for it, aren't they?
Yeah, well, you think, I can remember those awful shots of the two of them, you know, on the funeral. And now you're quite right. Now you're seeing him getting married. And he seems like a really, really nice guy. She's cute.
Are you a monarchist?
Yeah.
Do you believe in the institution of monarchy, unelected?
I do, certainly for our country I do, because I think it's just something which makes us unique. You know, I mean, they are good people. They're not chopping heads off anymore or stuff like that. Their values are good. They seem like very, very nice people. And it makes us different, special.
When we come back, I'm going to ask you, you don't sing, you don't dance, you don't do impressions. You don't really do anything, do you? What is your talent?
It's...
So, Simon, this is the conundrum with you. You are the number one, well, arguably number one, possibly number two talent show judge in the world. You're number one. Right, you're the master of the art of judging people. And yet when you actually look at you and your own repertoire of talent, it is hard to put our finger precisely on where it lies. I mean, do you sing?
No.
Do you dance?
Not well.
Do you do impressions?
Badly.
Can you act?
No.
Can you do trapeze acts?
Yes.
Juggling?
Managed that a few times.
Fire eating?
At times. New Year's Eve. I know your point.
If you were coming on America's Got Talent,
yes,
which is one of your shows...
Well, I wouldn't.
What would you declare as your talent, if you had to?
Well, I wouldn't.
On pain of death. What would you say was your talent?
I'm good at spotting somebody else's
Apart
talent.
from that, what is the tangible talent?
You don't need anything else.
But you wouldn't get through the first round with that.
Well, I wouldn't try.
No, but if you had to...
No, you're missing your own point, Piers.
I'm not.
No, you did. I know the point you're trying to make. You're saying you can only spot talent if you're talented.
No, I'm not saying that.
Yes, you are.
I'm just saying you are involved in the talent show genre at a high level.
Yes.
If you had to produce your own talent, do you have a secret one we don't know about?
High diving.
What is the X Factor?
Well, we called it the X Factor because I thought good singer factor was a terrible name for a show, you know, and I think nowadays, I think somebody like Lady Gaga defines exactly what we're looking for because she's out there on her own right now.
She's incredible, isn't she?
Well, she's super talented, very musical, but she's interesting and she's worked it all out for herself. You never get the feeling somebody's controlling her. She decided one day, I'm just going to put a lobster on my head and people will like it. I like the fact that she's different. She's not the best looking person in the world, she's not the best singer in the world, but she is a total, utter star. And that is an example of what the X Factor is. I'm not looking for good looking singer only. You know, you want somebody who's different.
When you see Justin Bieber, when I met him for the first time the other night...
He's cool, right?
He's about this high.
Yeah.
He's 16.
And with a swagger.
Had a real swagger, very polite boy, stood up, said hello, sir, introduced me to his girlfriend and stuff. I was very impressed by his poise. But then I watched his movie, and fascinating. I mean, this boy gets
it.
Modern culture.
Yeah.
In a way that I don't think a guy of twice his age would ever understand.
Totally. No, funny enough, I actually want kids who come on our show to educate me, not the other way around. I don't want to tell a 15 or 14-year-old what they should be doing. I want them to tell me. And that's what I got when I met Justin Bieber for the first time.
What do you make of him?
I think he's that. I think he's really talented, really musical. I think he's super smart. I think he's worked it out at a very young age. He's got a brilliant person looking after him in terms of management. His record executive, L.A. Reid, one of the best in the world. They're a great team. And I also like the fact on this show you could find a 50, 60-year-old singer who, for whatever reason, lost his or her chance and wants another crack at the big time. I mean, you and I have experienced it with Susan Boyle.
Well, I was going to say, we had that extraordinary moment. In fact, we can play a quick clip from that now of Susan
Boyle. We have
Boyle.
this part. And how old are you, Susan?
I am 47.
What are you going to sing tonight?
I'm going to sing I Dreamed a Dream from the Miserables. I dreamed that love would never die.
That moment was quite extraordinary. And the reason
Well, I knew it the second she came on.
Of course you did.
I had a feeling
You didn't know it, Simon, because you turned to me and you were laughing, and I was laughing as well. And we both thought this was a preposterous moment where this little old lady or middle-aged lady from Scotland was just going to come on and be a complete train wreck, didn't we?
I know.
And we were humbled.
16 million records later.
Wasn't it amazing?
Yeah, no, genuinely. I mean, this idea that you've got to look a certain look, that you've got to be a certain age, is ridiculous. The music business today spans, you've got Willow Smith at 12, you've got Susan Boyle at 46, you've got groups in the middle selling millions and millions of records, and this show has to reflect that. It has to be like the music business essentially is. There are no rules. You can't put boundaries around it. You can't say, if you're over 28, you can't have a hit. I mean, it's crazy.
Susan Boyle changed the rules of the music industry, almost single-handedly.
Well, no record company would have signed her if she'd have, she wouldn't have got an appointment. It would have been somebody who keeps submitting tapes, in the mail, and she would never have got a deal.
What do you say to people? I mean, the other day, the top 100 albums in America. Number 1, Susan Boyle with her second album. Number 2, Jackie Evancho, 10-year-old girl from America's Got Talent.
Yeah.
Certain people out there, and you've seen the criticism, will say that you have single-handedly destroyed the music industry.
Absolute rubbish. Rubbish. I mean, it has no effect at all. Look, it doesn't matter whether you've got a top 100 or a top 200. What you want is people back into stores buying music. I mean, how can that be a bad thing?
Elton John gave you a bit of a whack the other day.
What did he say?
He's a similar kind of thing, saying that it was very hard for anything outside of mainstream music to get a hit record now.
Well, look, this is somebody who charges, what, $1 million a private gig? $2 million? I don't know whether he's concerned about himself. Maybe it is. But they always bleat on that we're not giving other people a chance. And I always want to say to them, I tell you what, you've just made $1 million of your last private gig. Go and give it to a bunch of young musicians you care about. Put them in the studio. Go and nurture them. Go and spend some time looking after them. Then I'll buy your argument. They're only worried about themselves.
Does any part of you, if you're being very self-critical...
I'm not bitter about this at all.
Of course. Clearly hit a nerve.
Why do they say bad things about me?
We're going to come back after another short break, and I'm going to ask you more secrets, including who are the judges going to be on X Factor.
And I'm going to tell you exclusively.
Good.
Man. I'm going to say yes.
Simon.Cowell's X Factor for Britain, which is coming here in the fall. Simon, what does a winner get? Excite me.
Well, they always get a recording contract, obviously, but I've gone a little bit further this time, Piers.
Go on.
I'm going to give them $5 million.
Really?
Yeah.
$5 million?
$5 million.
Wow.
Cash.
That must be the biggest...
What do you give on America's Got Talent?
$1 million.
Quite a bit bigger.
Yeah, that's your show as well.
No, I know.
Kill the Golden Goose. But that's a staggering sum of money.
Yeah, but the point was, because everyone kept saying to me, are you convinced you're going to find a star through the process? And I wouldn't have done the show unless I believed I could. And I sat in a meeting with all my producers. They said, what do you want to give as a prize apart from the recording contract? All came up with these really boring ideas. And I said, you know what? Let's make a point here. Give them $5 million. It's never been done before. And that'll put some pressure on us, certainly put some pressure on you, the producers, to find me someone decent.
X Factor in Britain has generated $100 million worth of record sales, produced 90 hit records, and produced worldwide stars like Leona Lewis and others. Do you think you're going to get the same kind of success in America?
I don't think the shows in general have produced enough global stars, if I'm being honest with you. I think you always get local winners. And that's part of the reason why, I put this kind of money down on the table. And you'll see when my judging panel's announced, the kind of team I'm putting behind me is that I am really, really taking this seriously.
And what about a host?
Were you looking?
I'm wondering if you've chosen one yet.
Yes, Piers.
Have you?
I've got an idea. I'm going to have 2.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah, I think these shows need to.
So that was the original way that they did Idol, of course.
Yeah, we had...
And it's the way that Britain's Got Talent, a very successful duo there. So it's going to be 2 people.
Yeah.
Are they American?
Yeah.
So 2 American, man, woman?
I think so, yeah. Guy and a girl, yeah.
So that's a departure. That's different to Idol, where your friend Ryan runs the show there.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm not doing it just to be different. I actually like being on shows with 2 hosts. I think it's funnier because they have more confidence.
When do you think you'll give up judging? Have you thought about this?
Well, I think I'm good at it, Piers. You know, I think I'm good at steering a show. I think that's what I'm best at doing. And I think that's what I'm best at. So, for the moment, I'm good at it.
So you could just go on and on, could you? Like I said...
Well, I see myself producing long-term and let somebody else do it. I mean, I've just started to do that in the UK, where I've come off these shows and I'm producing them. And I must admit, I do love it. I love producing shows.
But could you imagine not being centre stage?
Well, I can see it happening less and less, you know, in terms of, you don't have to do the whole series, you could just do the odd show. I quite like the idea of that eventually, I think.
Well, Simon, I'm excited by it. I think X Factor in Britain is a huge show. More importantly, how do people enter? They're watching. How can they join in the X Factor party in America?
Well, we start in Los Angeles at the Sports Arena. You just turn up.
These are without the judges,
These are without the judges.
So how many cities are you doing the pre...
We're doing 6 cities in total. If you go on Fox.com, on your website, CNN, it'll have all the cities, all the dates. I would say to anybody who wants to do well, you know, this is a $5 million audition. You know, you've got to look the part, you've got to stand out from the crowd, you've got to sing something different to what we've heard before, but practice. And if you're not in a group, put together a group with your mates. I've seen this happen before. You know, form a vocal group. Maybe we could find the next Glee. You know, prepare yourself.
Are you nervous?
Yeah. Yeah, but in a good way.
I wish you every success. I really do.
Do you really?
Not really.
No, I thought so.
I wish you a little less success than I'm going to be enjoying.
Oh, that would be a disaster.
Simon.Cowell.
No, seriously.
Thank you.
A disaster.
Piers goes one-on-one with Russell Brand.
I mean, most husbands, though, the idea of their mother-in-law writing a book, filled with horror. Are you slightly apprehensive this might happen?
No, because what could be left to be said about me? Like, they know I'm a junkie, they know the way I carried on with women, they know I've been in trouble with the police, they know the ridiculous things I've said and done. I've apologised for all of them. There's no more skeletons in my closet. I live in a haunted house.
Tomorrow on Piers Morgan Tonight.
That's all for tonight, thank goodness.